Yo, it's Arcade, and today I'm gonna show you how to make experimental ambient music, very much inspired by John Hopkins or Aphex Twin, although it's not gonna be exactly like their style, because they have a wide range of different music. Now let's get started. And also, this video is brought to you by Skillshare. More on that later. So when it comes to this ambient music, you sort of wanna start with the main idea, then progressively expand it. So here's my main melody that I started with. I was just browsing through some sounds, trying some notes on the keyboard, and this is the first thing that happened. And that is that. So as you can see, it's in a 3/4 signature. So as you can see, I have a really simple arpeggio. If you want to go with a melody like this, you can just choose a scale in FL Studio, for example, by going to View, Scale Highlighting, and you just choose one, I don't know, like this one, use the right click, and then you can use the highlighted notes, and they will be in that scale, so you won't go off harmony or whatever. I usually just do this by ear or on the piano, so I don't need this, but if you do, this is a great way to start. So I have my arpeggio melody ready. The sound I'm using is from Pigments, from Arturia, another plugin that not many people use, but this one is really cool, especially for ambient music, because all of the sounds have a lot of depth. Like you can tweak a lot of different things, and they are sort of alive and moving constantly, which is good for this type of music. So I start with the simple sound, but then right off the bat, I use some of the macros, like the release and the pad level, so the sound starts opening up. So yeah, already sounding pretty mysterious. And once again, this sound goes on for like a minute right here. So in this music, you definitely don't want to rush it. You can take your time building up the different melodies you have, different ideas. So another sound I added here is this interesting weird pad, and I introduce it by automating the volume, and it sounds like this. Really interesting sound, has a lot going for it, and as far as the chords go, I pretty much took the same notes from the arpeggio and turned them into really simple chords here. The lower notes keep going up as the arpeggio, and these two stay the same. So those are my chords, and once again I'm using Pigments here. They really do have sounds that move a lot, and I'm really loving the macros, so I automate the timbre right off the bat, so the pad keeps changing constantly. So I created this sort of transition here. The arpeggio ends, and then we only have this pad solo. Oh yeah, one more thing I forgot to mention. With this arpeggio, at the end, I also automated the redux, which sort of distorts the whole sound and creates this cool effect. Together, we have it like this. And then we have this weird section where there is only this pad. Weird is sort of the name of the game in this genre, so you can do whatever you want. And I felt like having this pad play here. And once again, I automate the timbre, which slightly changes the color of the sound, and the shimmer, which introduces some more harmonics into the sound. Sounds like this. So that is the transition number one, where I introduce the shimmer, and then I add strings from Flex, just the basic strings that slowly rise up. Same chords here, and they sound like this. So yeah, FL Studio also has pretty cool orchestral sounds. I added the strings to sort of introduce more harmonics into the sound, because this sound alone, the harmonics can get sort of lost in that sound, so you don't really know what notes are playing. So I added these chords that have a clear sound to sort of support that other sound. So yeah, we have this section again going for like a minute, even more, and I'm constantly automating the sounds with different macros in Pigments. So we constantly have a different sound and something is happening all the time. You don't want to bore people. So another macro that I saw in that sound is like random plucks, which I used, and then you have these random hits of plucks. You can hear them there in the background. And now for another transition, I use this huge sweep and I leave it pretty loud there. And put some reverb on it as well. And then we also have this Zeus door closing, which is like a, I don't know, it's probably the god closing the doors. I have that from Kashmir's sample pack. So we have this huge transition here. And also I reverse the sweep as well. Just double click it, hit reverse to have a down sweep. And then some ambient sound of wind. And we introduce the piano. So here is how the transition sounds. So yeah, really beautiful. And I introduce the piano, where I keep the chords similar, but I add more octaves and some higher notes to create a little melody there. If you want to learn more about music theory and how to make chords like these, check out our sponsor today, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is a platform where you can learn lots of new skills, including your favorite, which is music production. There is tons of classes on music production that cover pretty much any topic that you can think of. Whether you want to learn how to play the guitar, the piano, you want to become a better singer, or learn how to mix your music, there is a class for that and way more. Right now, my favorite class is this one for music theory, exploring sound, rhythm, and melody on the MIDI grid by Fernando Arruda. So the excellent thing about this class is that everything is explained on the MIDI grid, so you don't really need a piano. You can learn everything in FL Studio Piano Roll if you want to. So anyone can get started on music theory with this class. So if you want to get access to that class or any other class on Skillshare, check out the link below. The first 1,000 people who click the link below will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. That means you get access to all of the classes on Skillshare for 1 month. So check it out and start learning today. Now let's get back to the video. And we are back. So the piano. For the sound, I'm using this soft piano from Labs. It's actually free and one of my favorite emotional pianos. And it sounds like this. So yeah, we are just gradually creating this tension by going higher and higher with these notes and then end it on the highest note here. And to support this, I of course have this wind sound, which I automate the panning of the wind. So you just go here, right click, create automation clip for the panning. And that sort of adds another layer of something happening, you know? You always want something to be happening. So even like panning the sound from left to right, if you are going to be listening to this on headphones, you will notice it. And of course, we have all these sweeps also supporting the sound. And some Foleys as well. Just random sounds that sort of feel pleasant to the ear, you know? And then I have this cave. Just a lot of relaxing sounds to create this peaceful moment in the song. Then we introduce the strings back. And the peaceful moment is over and we are going back to something more serious, I guess. And I support this one with this bass sound, which sort of creates this retro feel. And yeah, don't get scared of this. This crazy plugin is from the ARP 2600, also from Arturia. I don't know why, but I think their plugins are excellent for this type of music. And I have this preset Apache dance. Again, the bass follows the same notes as the chords and pretty much everything in this song. There is one theme in this song and I stick with it throughout. So yeah, we have this sound, and then we have the arpeggio back. But also, big thing here, I introduce another arpeggio, which is the same melody, but different sound. And I really build up this sound a lot. So again, I'm using Pigments for this sound as well. This is the name of it. And I automated all of the macros. So in case you don't know how to automate the macros, you just click this button right here. You move whatever knob you want to automate, and then you right click and create automation clip. And you can actually do it with multiple knobs as well. While this is selected, you can move this one, this one, this one, and this one. And then again, right click, and it will create 4 automation clips at once. I'm not gonna do it now because I already have them created, but you get the point. So now we have this sound. So again, amazing sound because every time you hit the key, something different happens, you know? So that creates this nice moving effect, which I'm gonna say it again, but it's the most important thing in this type of music. You want constant movement of sounds, and even though the same theme is repeating, it's constantly different. So I have this sound, and I automated all of the macros that I showed you, as well as the volume. So again, it starts at 0 volume, and it slowly builds up. So we have this. So you can see all the macros raising. So yeah, crazy sound. We also have the piano, but this time only the chords, no higher notes. And we have the bass. And that is pretty much it. So here is how that transition sounds from this peaceful moment to this more serious. And you can hear that other sound slowly creeping in. And then in the second repetition of this, I actually introduce a kick. It's like a hip hop kick, but I thought it worked pretty well here. One thing I did also is create another pattern with just one kick and put it sort of randomly at different places here, just so the kick isn't just straight up boom, 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 but it also has some fills in there. And yeah, so we have that kick, and that kick actually sidechains all of the sounds. So that means every time the kick hits, all of the other sounds are lowered in volume. If you don't know how to do sidechaining, check out my other tutorial, link below. You can actually see it visually here. So yeah, without it, the kick wouldn't be as pronounced. So then we have this. And it's still building up. The sounds are changing constantly. Then we have the strings. Then the pads as well. The sweeps. And the big climax of it all is right here. So this is like the main part of the song where everything hits together. So we have the strings, we have the arpeggios that are on like full blast at this point because every macro is high up. I also added the pads back on, and I also added this new sound, which is sort of like very electronic synth. And I also automated the panning on this sound. So again, something is happening in the background. You can hear it with the headphones that it's going from left to right. You are literally creating like this movement, you know? You can almost physically feel the movement, like you can almost see the sound moving around you. So yeah, this transition is huge. And the way to do this transition is to just like, well, add the sweeps for sure. And make sure like all of the sounds are sort of going at full blast, you know. They start pretty subtle here, but at the end everything is like. And I also added this hi-hat. just like so, and a snare. Just so we can differentiate between this part, and this part where the snare and the hi-hat is playing as well, so we can tell it's the main climax of the song, like the main drop. And that's where we have this. So then we need to take a break. We have this huge drop over here. We need to take a break. So that's where this part of the song comes in, which is not as peaceful as the piano part, but it starts to calm down at this point. But I did add a new sound there. John Hopkins uses this a lot, like choir sounds. So I have this contact library from Audio Imperia called Chorus, and they have a lot of choir sounds here. So first I went with the Mhmmm. And again, the chords are pretty much the same. I keep adding some notes here and there, like some extra notes, but more or less we have the same composition from the get-go. And of course, I did automate the expression, or the dynamics actually, which is super important when it comes to like real sounds like strings or choir. So you want to sort of go from low to high, which creates this breathing effect. And in the second repetition, I actually use the O's, First we have the Mhmms, then we have the O's. And the O's are more aggressive. That being said, I also kept the bass here, but it slowly fades away just by automating the volume. And we have the choir, the strings, the piano, almost all of the acoustic sounds, and also the arpeggio, but just this one, and it also slowly fades away at this point. And again, support this with some ambient sounds like cave drippings and effects like sweeps. And constantly move the automations, like always have it moving in one way or another. And then at the end here, we sort of go to ultimate calmness, where there is only a single note playing from the choir, and then I expand it a little bit more again, but it sort of ends there. So we have this last transition with the sweep. And the wind as well in the background. Then just fades to black. And yeah, that is the end of the song. Had a blast creating it. Check out the link in the description if you want to hear the whole song. But now let's play the finished result.